David takes Saul's spear. 1 Samuel 26 through 27. David was hiding in the wilderness of Ziph when he heard that Saul was hunting him with 3,000 soldiers. David sent out spies and learned where Saul had camped. David said, "Who will go down with me to where Saul sleeps?" His nephew, Abishai, said, "I'll go with you." So David and Abishai crept into camp and found Saul sleeping with his spear stuck in the ground near his head. Abishai said to David, "God has given you your enemy today. I'll kill him with one thrust of the spear." David said, "No one can strike down God's anointed and be without sin. Saul will die when it is time for Saul to die. Take Saul's spear and water jug and let's go." God had put Saul's men into a deep sleep, so they did not hear David and Abishai. The next morning, David stood on the mountaintop and shouted at Abner, the commander of Saul's army. "Answer me, Abner! What kind of guard are you over the king? You should die, you and your men, because you let an enemy into your camp. Look, here is Saul's spear and water jug." Saul said, "Is that you, David?" David said, "Yes. What have I done that you continue to hunt me?" Saul said, "I have sinned. I will hurt you no more. I have been a fool." David said, "Here's the king's spear. Let one of your young men come over and take it." David went away, and Saul went home. David said in his heart, "Saul will kill me one of these days. I will go to the land of the Philistines, and maybe I can find peace there." So David took his 600 men and their families to Gath and lived there. When Saul heard that David was out of his country, he stopped hunting for him. David asked the king of Gath if he and his men could have somewhere to live. Knowing that Saul was an enemy to David, the king gave them the city of Ziklag. Later, when the king heard a false report that David had raided in South Judah, he was happy, thinking that now David could never return to his homeland of Judah. But David had actually raided in the land of the Amalekites. The king of Gath decided to raid Judah and fight against Saul. He invited David to go along. David asked God to keep him out of the battle. God answered his prayer by having some of the Philistine commanders become afraid to have David along, especially behind them. They complained to the king, so the king said to David, "Now go back and leave us. Go in peace, that you do not upset all my commanders. Leave early at first light." So David and his men headed back to the land of the Philistines.